This next section is going to be general knowledge, section 2.17, driving emergencies. Traffic emergencies occur when two vehicles are about to collide. Vehicle emergencies occur when their tires, brakes, and other critical parts fail. Following the safety practices in this manual can help prevent emergencies. But if an emergency does happen, your chances of avoiding a crash depend upon how well you take action. Actions you can take are discussed below. Section 2.17.1, avoid a crash. So let's come back up here to the top over here. Stopping is not always the safest thing you can do in an emergency. When you don't have enough room to stop, you may have to steer away from what's ahead. Remember, you can almost always turn to miss an obstacle more quickly than you can stop. However, top-heavy vehicles and tractors with multiple trailers may flip over. So the gradual turning and the gentle steering is important. That's why we want that 1 second per 10 feet of vehicle following distance so that we can see things ahead. We want to keep that so we're not making quick reactions. We're too close to somebody. That's how you cause a vehicle to roll over. Keep both hands on the wheel. We talked about hand placement. Hand placements are at the right place when they're on opposite sides of the wheel. You have a tire blowout and you got one hand on the wheel, it's going to jerk it out of your hand. So keep two hands on the wheel. We didn't say 10 and 2, both hands on the wheel. I like that 5 and 8 o'clock, or 4 and 8 o'clock, or 7. But down here, keep your shoulders relaxed, neck relaxed, elbows close to your ribs so you're driving this. Bring that steering wheel closer to you. You can see all of your gauges. Relaxed. How to turn quickly and safely. Let's go back over to this top where it's talking about it's almost always turn to miss an obstacle. That's going to be one of your answers. Remember, you can almost always turn to miss an obstacle more quickly than you can stop. Sometimes you have to stop, but most of the time you're able to steer around it. Keep both hands on the steering wheel. In order to turn quickly, you must have a firm grip on the steering wheel with both hands. The best way to have both hands on the wheel if there is an emergency is to keep them there all the time, right? We've seen that where we're driving down the road, we've got one arm in the armrest, relax, and all of a sudden something happens, right? That reaction time, that perception to reaction, it's not split second, right? So keep them both hands on the wheel all the time. That's why we say keep them relaxed so it's comfortable holding your steering wheel down here, right? How to turn quickly and safely. A quick turn can be made safely if it's done in the right way. Here are some points that safe drivers use. Do not apply the brakes while you are turning. You hit your brake pedal while you're here, it may cause you to skid, right? So if you're turning, don't hit the brakes. Same thing, you're going through a curve. You don't want to hit the brakes through a curve for the same reason. You downshift prior to the curve that you want to go through the curve in, and gently accelerate when you're halfway through. We don't want to be accelerating while we're overturning the wheel. It's going to cause a drive wheel skid. Keep that in mind, right? If that happens, you may skid out of control, just like I just said. Do not turn any more than needed to clear whatever's in the way. The more sharply you turn, the greater the chance of a skid or rollover. And that is amplified when you add a trailer to it. Now we're getting a cracked whip effect. Whatever happens at that steering axle is amplified to the rear of the vehicle. That's where the rollovers and your center of gravity comes into play. Be prepared to countersteer. If I turn this way, I may have to come back the other way. If I go into a skid, I may have to turn back into the skid, right? Just like we learned in our cars. Where to steer. If an oncoming driver has drifted into your lane, okay? You're going this way, he's coming this way. He drifted across the line. Move to the right. Drive around it. You can slow down and drive around it. Most of the time that's safer than trying to come to a screeching halt where you're going into controlled braking or stab braking or something like that just because he drifted across the line. Usually distracted driver, not paying attention, but that's what we do, is move to the right. And this is a question. If an oncoming driver has drifted in your lane, move to the right is safe, Steer to the left is safe. Stay center. Stop. Which one, right? Steer to the right is going to be safe. You're steering away from where he's going, right? If something is blocking your path, the best direction to steer will depend on the situation. If you have been using your mirrors, you'll know which lane is empty and can safely be used. So you don't want to whip it over. You can have a car sitting beside of you. So that's why it's important to constantly track traffic and know where traffic is. If there's a car beside of you, maybe not over here. If there's a car here, maybe we don't steer that way. Maybe we steer the other way because of the car there, right? If the shoulder's clear, going right may be best. No one is likely to be driving on the shoulder, but someone may be passing you on the left. You'll know if you have been using your mirrors. If you're blocked on both sides, a move to the right may be best. At least you don't force anyone to opposing traffic lane in a possible head-on collision. So it's the lesser of two evils. If you got 3 lanes and you got somebody to the right and you're in the middle, then over here, if I force this person over here, maybe it puts them on the traffic. If I force this one over here, don't know what's going to happen, right? But chances are they see you moving, they move with you. And if you're going to do that, you're creating one problem, not 2. So it's reducing the risk. It's not risk-free by no means, but a move to the right is usually best. And these are the type of questions that's going to be on your test when they're asked. These are the answers they're looking for. Shoulder is clear. Going right may be best. We're going to highlight that for you. We're going to leave it sitting there for you so you can come back and look at it later. If you're blocked on both sides, still a move to the right may be best. Leaving the road. So we talked about that sharp pavement drop-off in road construction where you drop off the edge and you sharply, I didn't say oversteer, I just said sharply back to the road, right? If you're being forced off the roads, in some emergencies, you may have to drive off the road. It may be less risky than facing a collision with another vehicle. Most shoulders, remember this, most shoulders are strong enough to support the weight of a large vehicle. They're going to ask some questions about that. Are the shoulders, yes, they're designed for a large vehicle. They're designed for all vehicles. Most of them will support the weight of a large vehicle. This will be a question on your test. I keep giving you all these things that I know is going to be on there. Avoid braking. If possible, avoid using the brakes until your speed has dropped to about 20 miles per hour. Then brake very gently to avoid skidding on a loose surface. So if you've left the road, it's going to be loose gravel and stuff. So you want to get the speed down to avoid that. And if you do have to hit the brakes hard, 20 miles per hour is not going to slide and slip around as fast as 55 miles per hour is going to. So avoid braking, right? And this is going to be the question. If you avoid braking until your speed has dropped below 20 miles per hour or 20 miles per hour. Keep one set of wheels on the pavement. So there's pavement, there's dirt. Keep one side of your vehicle. If I'm going to the right, I want to keep the left side of my entire vehicle on the pavement. My right may be in the dirt or in the gravel, but my left side will stay pavement. That way when I take off, I still have traction on the pavement and I can drive back on. Or if I'm over on the right and I'm forced off to the left, if I'm forced off to the left side, at least the right side of my vehicle is still on the road. If I get completely in the dirt, well, that soft grass or that soft dirt or mud or sand or whatever it is, sometimes the only way to get off that is a tow truck. So keep one side of your vehicle on the pavement. And just statement alone right here, you need to remember that, right? And it helps maintain the control, right? Not just to take off again, but if you've got one side of the vehicle, I've got more traction right there on that asphalt than I'm doing loose. If I get in that loose dirt or grass or gravel or sand or whatever it is, you just lose all kind of control with that. Stay on the shoulder. If the shoulder is clear, stay on it until your vehicle has come to a stop. There's going to be a lot of confusion questions about this, but understand the scenario. We already said that driving around an obstacle is usually your best bet. It's usually safer than coming to a screeching emergency halt. But if you're forced to the shoulder, don't get it confused with the shoulder drop off. Don't get it confused with coming off the edge a little bit and coming back. Don't get it confused with that. But if you're forced to the shoulder and you get to below 20 miles per hour, the safest thing to do is going to be to stop. Right? Stay on the shoulder until you come to a stop. After you gather yourself and everything's clear, you signal, you'll build up some speed on the shoulder, then you'll gently drive out. But if you're forced to the shoulder, you want to come to a stop if it's safe enough. You're already on the shoulder, it's safe over there, it should be. So if that's the case, bring it to a stop if you're forced to the shoulder. Understand the difference between that, sharp pavement drop off, and just leaving the edge a little bit, okay? Because if you lose drop off, you just want to come back to the road. But if you're forced to the shoulder, and it's usually safer to stop the vehicle, don't start braking until you're 20 miles per hour. That way you reduce the risk of losing control of your vehicle. So remember this statement. Shoulder is clear, stay on it until the vehicle comes to a stop. We're not going to try to drive back in after we're forced to the shoulder. Signal and check your mirrors before pulling back onto the road. Now returning to the road. If you're forced to return to the road before you can stop. You see the difference? Here, this top one, I had room to stop. But with this scenario, I'm forced to return before I can stop. Use the following procedure. Read this a couple of times so you understand it completely before you take your test, because they're going to ask this question a couple or a few times. They're going to ask it in different ways, okay? We want to make sure we understand this completely. Hold the wheel tightly and turn sharply enough to get back onto the road safely, just like we did that sharp pavement drop-off, right? Don't try to edge gradually because of that lip. Because if you try to edge back or your tires running the inside of that drop-off or whatever, turn it sharp. Not the big turn, just sharply enough to get back onto the road. Don't try to edge gradually back on the road. If you do, your tires might grab unexpectedly and you could lose control. When both front tires are on the paved surface, counter steer immediately. So what we're saying is we come off the drop off or we come off the edge of the road and we want to come back to the road, then counter steer back to the middle of the road. Just quickly. Not the big ones, because you do this one, especially with a loaded vehicle or a loaded trailer, this one's going to cause you to roll over. So just sharp enough to get back to the road. You just don't want to run the inside of your tires down the edge of anything that's going to control your steering or affect your steering at all. So be sure to read this. I'm going to highlight the entire thing because they ask questions about this one quite a bit on your test. How to stop quickly and safely. If somebody suddenly pulls out in front of you, your natural response is to hit the brakes. This is a good response, but there's enough distance to stop and you use the brakes correctly. This is a good response if there's enough distance to stop and you use the brakes effectively. So again, we go back to that following distance. Those 6-second rules or 10-second rules, or however how long your vehicle is, 1 second per 10 feet, 1 second after 40 miles per hour. So you need to always be giving yourself this. You always got to be prepping for what's next. If somebody pulls up in front of you, so here's the second paragraph, you should use brake in a way that will keep your vehicle in a straight line and allow you to turn it if it becomes necessary. You can use the controlled braking method or the stab braking method. It's going to be important for your test that you understand controlled braking and stab braking. I'm going to explain it to you the best I can, and hopefully you remember it, because this is a question that you will most definitely get asked. With this controlled braking, with this method, you apply the brakes as hard as you can without locking up the brakes, without coming to a skid. Push them as hard as you can. We're going to talk about ABS, analog braking systems, here in a little while, but hard as you can without locking them up. That's controlled braking. Stab braking. Stab braking is when you push as hard as you can and lock up the brakes, lock up the tires, they skid. I stab them. As soon as they stop rolling, I let them up, and then it begins to roll again. As soon as they begin to roll again, I stab them again. That's going to be an incremental stop. The goal is not to stop fast, or it's not going to shorten the stopping distance. It's not going to make you stop faster. What we're doing is trying to maintain a straight line. Do not use stab braking with vehicles equipped with anti-lock braking system, with ABS. Again, I'm going to read it to you. So control braking, we know we need that. You apply the brakes as hard as you can without locking the wheels. Okay, that's controlled braking. Stab braking, you're going to need to know this. Apply your brakes all the way. Release the brakes when they lock up. As soon as the wheels start rolling, apply the brakes fully again. And do it as many times as possible until you come to a stop. Now, do you use stab braking for vehicles equipped with ABS, anti-lock braking system? You do not use stab braking on ABS equipped vehicle, and most vehicles have ABS nowadays. I believe since '96, even the trailers were required to have ABS. You'll double check me on that when we get to it. But yeah, if you got ABS, don't use stab braking. Use controlled braking. Controlled braking, push hard as you can without locking them up, because the ABS is going to keep you in a straight line. You're not going to stop faster. You're not going to stop shorter. You're going to keep control of the vehicle. Same thing with stab braking. Vehicles without ABS, lock them up, let them go. Lock them up, let them go. It's going to help keep the vehicle in a straight line. It will not help you stop faster. It will not help you stop shorter. It will keep the vehicle in control. And that control is what we're looking for. Don't, if you have a vehicle, or any vehicle, ABS or non-ABS vehicle, don't just lock and hold. Don't just jam and hold as hard as I can until it stops. That's how you're going to start jackknifing. That's how you're going to do some wild stuff, okay? We want control of this vehicle, controlled braking or stab braking. Don't jam on the brakes. Jam and hold. Don't press and hold and hope for the best. Emergency braking does not mean pushing the brake pedal down as hard as you can, and that's all you do, right? We have to use stab braking or controlled braking. Let's move into 2.17.3, brake failure. Brakes kept in good condition rarely fail. Most hydraulic brakes, so we're never going to talk about hydraulics and probably get into air brakes too. Brakes kept in good condition rarely fail. Most hydraulic brake failures occur for one of two reasons. Loss of hydraulic pressure, because hydraulic brakes are fluid, right? And so the hydraulic one, and how do you know if hydraulic brakes are fading or failing? Hydraulic is a fluid, so I wipe it up with a sponge. Loss of hydraulic pressure will cause the brakes to feel spongy. If they do feel spongy, pump them up. Sometimes you can build back pressure. Brake fade on long hills. Now we're talking about fading, expanding the brake drums. That usually goes along with air brakes. Brake fade on long hills. That means we've overused our brakes. The drums got hot. They started to stretch out or expanding. And now you have to push harder than you did before for the push rods and the brake shoes to reach the drums. So if I'm losing my hydraulic brakes, they're going to feel spongy. If I'm losing my air brakes, I'm going to push harder than I previously did. That means the push rod's having to travel farther to the drums. So if I have to push harder, if you can get stopped somewhere, get stopped and let them cool off. Remember, don't set your brakes, parking brakes, if they're hot, give them a chance to cool off. Loss of hydraulic pressure. When the system won't build up pressure, the brake pedal will feel spongy. This is hydraulic. I've been talking about that a few times. It must be important, or it goes to the floor. Here are some things you can do. Downshift, right? Use your transmission, downshift. Pump the brakes. I just said if you pump the brakes, the pedal will generate enough hydraulic pressure to stop the vehicle. Sometimes. Keyword, sometimes. Don't come back and say, Merle said if I pump the brakes, it'll stop me. No, I didn't. I said sometimes. That's one of the things you can do. Downshifting using your engine is definitely a good thing, especially when you have vehicles equipped with hydraulic brakes. A lot of times you have a mechanical handbrake as well. So that's something you can use, which is, yeah, there it is. You use the parking brake. The parking brake or emergency brake is separate from the hydraulic brake system, therefore it can be used to slow the vehicle. However, be sure to press the release button on the lever so you can pull it. It's hard to think when you're in an emergency situation, but get used to practicing that. Find an escape route. Now, we talked about knowing the escape ramps on mountain grades and things of that nature, but if you don't have them, you're going to have to find something outside the vehicle. So find an escape ramp. What type of escape ramp routes can you have? Something outside the vehicle. While slowing the vehicle, look for an escape route, an open field, a side street, or an escape ramp. Turning uphill is a good way to slow the vehicle and stop the vehicle because the gravity is working in your favor at that point. Make sure the vehicle does not start rolling backwards after you stop. Put in low gear, apply the parking brake, and if necessary, roll back into some obstacle that will stop the vehicle. You have to find something outside the vehicle to stop it. With large vehicles, an open field it can be, I'm not saying it can be dangerous. Of course, anytime you leave the roadway, it's going to be dangerous. But people overreact. They see themselves going to the field. Oh gosh, I can't go through the field. What's your options? And if you do go through the field, go straight through the field. Don't go and try to whip it back to the road. You're going to roll over that way. Just take the field. Okay? It's going to be less damage than this other stuff, and hopefully less injury, because we don't want to roll it over. Rollovers is number one reason for fatalities, caused by going too fast and whipping that wheel, causing that high center of gravity to the freight's going to take you over, right? Keep that in mind. Brake failure on downgrades, going slow enough, and the parking and braking properly will almost always prevent brake failure on long downgrades. We've discussed how to use your transmission and your engine brakes and control that safe speed. 5 miles per hour less than the safe speed, slow it down, then let it creep back up regardless what the safe speed is. If it's 55 and you hit 55, slow it down to 50, let your engine and transmission do its job, and your engine brakes. Once the brakes have failed, however, you're going to have to look for something outside the vehicle to stop. This is going to be a question on your test. If your brakes have failed, how do you stop? And it's going to give you multiple choice there. You're going to have to look for something outside the vehicle to stop it, right? What that is, you're going to know that if you're ever in that situation. It could be a side of a hill, could be a side of a building to help slow you down, could be a guardrail or something. I don't know. I'm not advising you to do any of that. It's just too vague, and the situations vary too much for to give you a solid answer. But if you don't have brakes, something outside the vehicle is going to have to stop you, whether it be a escape ramp, whether it be an open field, things like that, that's going to help slow and stop your vehicle. Your best hope is that escape ramp. And when you're going down mountain grades, these escape ramps they usually have a sign letting you know where all the escape ramps are. And when you pass one, it'll give you a sign, next escape ramp 2 miles, next escape ramp half a mile, stuff like that, because there are a lot of curves and stuff usually go along with that. So keep an eye on your escape ramps. And if you don't have brakes, use the escape ramp. Tire failure. How do you recognize a tire failure? Are you going to hear it? No, you're not going to hear it. Quickly knowing you have a tire failure will let you have more time to react. Having just a few seconds to remember what it is you're supposed to do can help you. The major signs of tire failure are the sound, not the hissing. You're not going to hear that. You may hear a bang. And when you have one of these big commercial tires to actually explode, you'll hear it. It sounds like a bomb going off. It's the biggest thing that will shake your truck. You'll hear it and you'll feel it. That's a blowout. As soon as you hear or feel that, start looking in your mirrors, find you somewhere safe to get off the road and do your inspection. Vibration. You may start feeling a vibration. You feel the steering feels heavy, and probably a sign that it's pulling more to one side than the other. Maybe your low air pressure, maybe it's starting to pull. That's another sign. So you get an idea of how to recognize a tire failure. But vibration, if you're going to look for an answer for your test, the sound of the big bang may be an answer. But let's get down there. This right here, that vibration. Vibration is a sign. That's a very common question on the test. It's been asked a million times on every test I've ever seen. So vibration is a sign. How do you respond to a tire failure? When tires fail, your vehicle is in danger. You must immediately hold the steering wheel firmly. If a front tire fails, it can twist the steering wheel out of your hand. Or the tire comes apart and it wraps around your steering linkage, things like that. The only way to prevent this is to keep a firm grip on the steering wheel with both hands at all times. Stay off of the brake. It's already pulling you one way. If you hit the brakes, it's going to pull you that way, pull you more that way. It's natural to want to brake in an emergency. However, braking when a tire has failed can cause a loss of control unless you're about to run into something. Stay off the brake and the vehicle is slowed. Then brake very gently, pull off the road and stop. Not on this section here when it's talking about one of those, but it is proven, and it has been, many studies have been done. Tire blows out and you get that big vibration. Actually speed up a little bit till the vibration calms enough for you to steer it off the road. So speeding up in a tire failure can actually help you because it gets rid of the big vibrations. You're still going to have vibration, but it's not going to be as bad and give you a little bit of control. That won't be on your test, but that's for you if it ever happens, especially a steer tire. Stay off the brake, check the tires after you come to a stop, and more than likely if you have a tire failure, you're not going to change the tire on the side of the road yourself. You're going to call your dispatch, or most trucks have computers where you have direct contact to your dispatch, or if your company's not big enough to have that, you'll make a cell phone call after you stop safely and put out your triangles and all that. You're going to call them. The information you need is, where am I? What state am I in? What highway am I on? Which direction am I going? I'm on Interstate 94 at mile marker 68 in Minnesota, going westbound. They know exactly where I'm at. And technology nowadays, they can actually see where you're at via satellite communication. They know where you're at. But if you don't have that available, you want to make sure you know your location at all times. Earlier I talked about, when I was talking about stab braking and control braking, I was talking about the anti-lock braking system. They're going to talk about this a lot, and they're going to talk about this a lot in air brakes section of the air brake section of your test. They're going to talk about this in combination vehicle section. So you're going to get a lot about anti-lock brakes. ABS, anti-lock braking system, is a computerized system that keeps your wheels from locking up during hard braking. So what it does is you got these modules on each one of your axles. So when you use that control braking hard, it does the stab braking for you, except it doesn't do them all at the same time. So if I have 4 axles, 6 axles, it's going to throw power to one side and back to the other quickly, faster than you would ever be able to do it. It's just really faster than that. But it does it in a way that will help you keep control of your vehicle. ABS does not stop your vehicle faster, does not stop it shorter, but it does keep you in control of your vehicle. ABS is an addition to your normal brakes. So when you highlight that, it means something, right? It does not increase, boy, this, if I keep saying it, I bet it's on your test. It does not decrease or increase your normal capability. ABS only activates when wheels are about to lock up. ABS does not necessarily shorten your distance, but it does help keep the vehicle under control during hard braking. Under control meaning in a straight line, right? And how does it work? 2.18.1. I gave you a demonstration about how the computerized system shifts power back and forth between the axles and stuff, keeping everything in a straight line. So sensors detect potential wheel lockup. The electronic control unit, ECU, will then decrease brake pressure to avoid wheel lockup. Brake pressure is adjusted to provide maximum braking without danger of lockup. ABS works far faster than the driver can respond to a potential wheel lockup. At all other times, the brake system will operate normally. So if I'm in an emergency situation and I have a vehicle equipped with ABS, I use controlled braking. And what is controlled braking again? Push as hard as I can on the brake pedal without locking up the wheels. So that's controlled braking. Should I use stab braking on a vehicle with ABS? I should not use stab braking on a vehicle equipped with ABS. Vehicle 2.18.2, vehicles required to have anti-lock braking system. The Department of Transportation requires that ABS be on tractors with air brakes built on or after March 1, 1997. I was a year off, I said 96. Other air brake vehicles, trucks, buses, trailers, and converter dollies. A converter dolly is if you have doubles or triple trailers. It's the unit that goes in between the trailers. It's a converter dolly, converting it into a fifth wheel platform. Some people call it a jiffy, if you ever see that term, but it's a converter dolly is what I've always referred it to. They have to be on all vehicles after 1998. I'm not sure these dates are going to be on there, but just in case, let's put those dates down there. So trucks, tractors, March 1st, 1997. Every other vehicle, 1998, March 1. Hydraulically brake trucks and buses with a gross vehicle rating of 10,000 pounds or more built on or after March 1, 1999. So you got a magic number of 10,000 pounds for anything hydraulic brakes at 1999. But not most of the cars, your cars have them. How do you know if your vehicle is equipped with ABS? How do you know? When you turn the key on and all those lights come on and off the dash, those are called telltale lights. They'll come on. You'll see the ABS come on and go off. How do I know my trailer has it? When I do that same thing, turn my key on and watch the dash light up and go off, if I look in my left mirror on the end of my trailer, end of my vehicle back there, end of my trailer, that trailer light, it's a yellow amber light towards the end of the trailer, will come on and go off. There's another red one right behind that indicating where the end of my trailer is for nighttime driving. But that's how you know if your truck has it or your tractor has it. ABS comes on and goes off when you start the engine. If my trailer has it, my ABS light on the trailer on my driver's side, left side, comes on and goes off when I cycle my gauges. How do you know your car has it? When you turn your key on, the ABS comes on and goes off on your dash, right? Most commercial vehicles built before these dates have been voluntarily equipped with ABS. So if they had them on before, but they didn't become mandatory until 1997, 98 for trailers, and then 99 for hydraulic brakes. Says, how do I know if vehicles equipped with ABS? I just told you. If it comes on the dashboard, it goes off, it's equipped. If the trailer comes on and goes off on the left side tail of the trailer comes on and goes off, I can see it in my mirror, you know your trailer has it. How ABS helps you, it keeps you in control of the vehicle. You can read all this. It keeps you from locking it up. It does not shorten your distance or make you stop faster. It helps you stay in control of the vehicle. So having ABS on 2.18.5, having ABS on only the tractor, only the trailer, or even only on one axle still gives you more control over the vehicle during braking. Brake normally. When only the tractor has ABS, you should be able to maintain steering control, and there is less chance of jackknifing. We'll talk about that when we get into different types of skids. But keep your eye on the trailer and let up on the brakes if you can safely do so before it swings out. That's the jackknifing. So when only the trailer has ABS, the trailer is less likely to swing out. But if you lose steering control or start jackknifing, let up the brakes if you can safely do so until you regain control. So jackknifing is when we're talking about a trailer and the trailer starts coming around and your truck is going in this direction. What that means is your trailer tires themselves locked up and caused it to come around. You have the momentum of the tractor going forward, straight line. If you just take your foot off the brake, the momentum of that tractor is going to carry that trailer right back in line with you. So that's why we want to let off the brake. So if you're in a jackknifing situation, take your foot off the brake and aim straight ahead. That's jackknifing. That's trailer wheel skid. Braking with ABS. When you drive a vehicle with ABS, you should brake as you always have. What if your ABS malfunction light comes on? Brake as you normally would with ABS. More than likely, all the axles are not malfunctioning, maybe one or something. Brake normal. Those other ones is still better than having none, right? So don't try to stab brake it just because your ABS light's on. It's controlled braking. Brake as hard as you can without locking up the wheels. And I just told you what I just said. Brake in the same way regardless of whether you have ABS on a bus, tractor, or trailer. As you slow down, monitor your tractor and trailer and back off the brakes if the trailer starts coming around. There is only one exception to this procedure. If you drive a straight truck or combination with working ABS on all axles, in emergency stop, you can fully apply the brakes. That controlled braking, right? Hard. The ABS is going to prevent them from locking up. This technology is getting really good. This will stop you really hard, and it's going to help you stay in control. So, yeah, controlled braking. 2.18.7, I mentioned this earlier. Without ABS, you still have normal brake functions. Drive and brake as you always have. Vehicles with ABS have a yellow malfunction lamps to tell you if something's not working. As a system check on newer vehicles, the malfunction lamp comes on at startup and quickly goes out. So when you turn the key on, cycle your gauges, the light comes on and goes off. If it stays on, that means you have a malfunction. Remember, if you have ABS malfunctions, you still have regular brakes. Drive normally, but get the system service soon. Reminders, ABS won't allow you to drive faster, follow more closely, or less carefully. ABS won't prevent power or turning skids. ABS should prevent braking those skids or jackknives, but not those caused by spinning the drive wheels or going too fast in a turn. So we talked about a jackknife, which is a trailer skid, meaning the trailer tires locked up and maybe the tractor tires didn't. So because the trailer locked up, the trailer came around. How do you correct that? Take your foot off the brake. Now they're starting to mention this, and I'm not sure how much detail they're going to go on this, but I'm sure that's the next section when we talk about skid recovery and stuff. But drive wheel skids. Drive wheel skids, not your steering, your drive wheels, the ones that are behind your seat. Sometimes you have one axle, sometimes you have two. That means the skid is originating there. It's not originating at the trailer. So you could go into a fishtail, so the skid comes out from under you. It can be caused by acceleration or braking. So if I'm a loose gravel, loose pavement or something like that, if I have a drive wheel acceleration skid, it starts to move around like a little fishtail, right? Having dual tires usually prevents that, but it can still happen. Think about snow and mud and ice and those type of weather conditions too. Whatever's causing the skid, stop it. Stop doing it. If my accelerator is causing the skid, stop accelerating. Because it's starting to fishtail bait, you're going to steer and then counter steer. Jackknife, trailer brake skid, take your foot off the brake. Drive wheel skid, whether it's braking or accelerator, what's causing the skid? Is it the braking causing the skid, or is it the accelerator? Whichever it is, stop doing that. Steer and counter steer. A steering skid, and I'm sure we'll get into more detail, is when you go make a turn, but the vehicle decides to go straight. It usually happens on ice and sometimes slippery mud conditions and stuff like that. I go to make a turn around the curve, but my vehicle decides to go straight. Slow down or stop. That's the only way you're going to recover that. I'm not going to go too much about that ABS because we talked about it at a lot of length there, so we're going to move on. What causes skids? Losing traction. So over braking, over steering, over acceleration, driving too fast. Those are what causes the skids. Know the different types of skids. So 2.9 is the drive wheel skid, and if you see my little dot right here, I'm moving around here. This is your drive wheels. This is your steering. This is your trailer. Drive wheel skids originated here either by braking or by accelerating. Either way, you're going to have to stop doing what's causing the skid, steer and counter steer. You're going to have questions and you'll see the answer, steer and counter steer. Just remember, steer and counter steer applies to drive wheels. Jackknife or trailer braking skids, we take our foot off the brake. Steering wheel skids, steering tire skids, we stop or slow down and then regain our traction and move on. Make sure you read through these sections to understand what a drive wheel is, correcting a drive wheel skid, stop braking, counter steer, front wheel skids. Driving too fast for condition causes most front wheel skids. Other causes include lack of tread on the front tires and cargo loaded, so not enough weight is on the front axle. In the front wheel skid, the front end tends to go in a straight line regardless of how much you turn the steering wheel. On a slippery surface, you may not be able to steer around the curve or turn. When a front wheel skid occurs, the only way to stop the skid is to let the vehicle slow down, stop turning and or braking so hard. So slow down as quickly as possible without skidding. So before we move on, we're going to cover sections 2.17 through 2.19. Let's test our knowledge. You guys ready? Number one, stopping is not always the safest thing to do in an emergency. That is a true statement. Why is that true? Because sometimes in emergency, it's easier to steer around it or drive around it. Stopping is not always the best answer. Sometimes it's avoiding the obstacle, avoiding the incident, avoiding the accident is your best option. You don't always have time, room, space. You get cut off a lot. You don't always have time but most time we can drive or steer around it. So that's why that's a true statement, because if you look at the key word, stopping is not always the safest thing to do in an emergency. That is true. And be careful of those questions because they ask some trick questions. Which one of these is not red? I don't know, is it a trick question? I don't know. But be careful of those questions the way they're worded. What are some advantages of going right instead of left around an obstacle? We talked about that too. Going to the right, I'm less likely to have somebody on my side. I'm less likely to push someone over into oncoming traffic. to move to the right is usually better than going left. What is an escape ramp? They're usually found in your mountain driving, the grades. You got steep grades, a lot of curves, places where your brakes tend to get hot. An escape ramp is exactly what it says. It's in the word, escape ramp. I don't have brakes. I need a means to stop the vehicle. This escape ramp will help me stop the vehicle. It will help save lives. It will help save damage to the vehicles, and it'll help keep control of the vehicles. Is it going to be, are we going to have some kind of damage? Possibly. But you're going to save a lot by using these escape ramps when you don't have brakes. Don't do them just because you want to slow down. No, it's an escape ramp. If a tire blows out, you should put the brakes on hard to stop quickly. False. Brake gently and softly because you're already being pulled to one side. If you hit the brakes, it's going to pull you that much more. So you want to reduce your speed as much as possible, keeping control of the vehicle. So we do not want to put the brakes on hard, right? That's a false statement. How do you know if your vehicle has on anti-lock brakes? How do you know your car has it? When you turn the switch on, the lights on the dash come on, the little ABS symbol pops up, and it goes off. Same thing on a tractor, truck, bus. Light comes on the dash, goes off. I know it's got ABS. How do I know my trailer has one? If I look in the mirror and do the same thing, turn the key to the on position, look in my mirror on the left, at the end of the trailer on the left, driver's side, you'll see an amber light come on and go off. If it stays on, you have a malfunction in your trailer ABS. If you have a malfunction on your trailer brake, on your trailer ABS, brake normally, but get it repaired as soon as possible. So we're going to stop there. These are starting to run long. This is a long class. I told you at the beginning of this, general knowledge is the most difficult one to get through. When I'm doing this class in person, in the classroom, it can take up to 6 hours to get through everything. So please don't burn yourself out. Do one section at a time and come back to it and come back to it. That way you're not burning yourself out. And you use your book along with this, or just use this. It's written right there. It's the same book, regardless of the state. Now, like I said, the states have different books, so they have the little preface at the beginning for state-specific stuff, but all of this stuff I'm giving you now is all federal. It's all the same stuff. We'll be seeing you here soon when we get to section 2.20, accident procedures.